Hey, Brandon here. Welcome to the channel and thanks for tuning in. I got a great show here today. We're going to go into the future of the Dynasty future. We're going to talk about future Dynasty quarterbacks. We're talking 2025 quarterbacks. We're talking 2026 quarterbacks. So I've been putting out a lot of 2024 rookie content on this channel, but we're going to go into the future a little bit and see what the depth of the quarterback class looks like. So you play fantasy, you play Dynasty, and you're looking for a YouTube channel out there that's going to give you an early look at future Dynasty assets, man, hit that subscribe button. That is what this channel is dedicated to. So this is an insert from our podcast. My podcast co-host and I, Jason DiRienzo and I, we're just going to talk about our top six quarterbacks if we were here this time next year. All right. After the 2024 draft, we're going to be looking at the 2025 draft classes and potentially some players from the 2026 guys that you're going to want to be drafting early in Devy startups and C2C startups. So enjoy the show. All right, listen, we got a full show, so let's get to it, Jason. Let's talk about our future, Devy quarterbacks. Now, we decided that we were only going to talk about six each, all right, knowing that we'd probably end up with 10 teams or 10 names, rather. And we know the difficulty of, looking to the future. And our lists are so drastically different, man. I am really excited to get into this.
I was kind of surprised by yours, so that means I know you're surprised by mine. So this is going to make for a good conversation.
It is good. So I have a disclaimer before, when we get started here. I'm making the assumption that Carson Beck, Sanders from Colorado, Ewers, and Riley Leonard all come back and put back into the Devy pool. So because I don't think all four, I think Ewers, people are mocking him in the second round, maybe, or whatever. I think he comes back. He's been just too dinged up for the last 2 years, but in any case, I agree. They're in the pool. I just wanted to put a disclaimer out there. And I think I've learned a little bit of a lesson doing this in the last 3 or 4 months. And I think you're going to see that I'm starting to lean when I do my future, Dynasty ranks players and Devy and stuff that, I'm not reaching for the new and shiny toy all the time, and I think you're going to see that, in mine. And I think maybe you're still reaching for the shiny toy, but we'll have to see as we, we go through this. We're going to see. All right. So, all right, so let's get to it. I'm going to go really spicy here, and I'm going to go with Carson Beck, number one. All right. I think he's got the size. He's playing in the SEC. Now, you had him down as an NFL stock down player a couple of weeks ago, and I get it. I think he's improving each week. All right. And with all those guys coming back and the pool, I think he is a player who's going to excel. I think he's definitely going to come back next year. He could possibly win a national championship this year. Next year, he could possibly win a national championship, and I think he's improving, and I've been impressed with his mobility in the last couple games. He's starting to see making some more runs, starting to elude the pocket, playing, making some plays off script. So right now, if all, I'm assuming all the other players in the, the 2024 class, they're going, right? The Penixes, I think they all have to go. I don't think there's anyone there that possibly could come back to, be included here. So I got Carson Beck as my number one quarterback in Devy as we look forward to the 2024 class. And that's what kind of this episode's all about, is looking, to the 2024 college football season, which is going to be really the 2025 NFL draft class.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the way Carson Beck played in that last game against Missouri, you can definitely see the development is happening. I like the fact that he's able to extend the play with his legs and get outside the pocket. I'm not there yet. I think I want to see more games like that, like more Missouri games where he just looks like he's in command, looks more comfortable, making his reads, going through progressions. He did a great job in this game. He looks more comfortable, honestly, to me, when Ladd McConkey is in the lineup. And I think that's a testament to Ladd McConkey too. But you're right. I see the development with Carson Beck throughout the season. I'm just not there yet with him. It's just a wait and see. But I can understand the intrigue. And we talked about him a lot in the preseason. It's not like I don't like him. I think I'm just expecting. I want to see a little bit more.
Yeah, and
feel good about it.
And we all know that, both of our lists are projection, right? And we can't lose sight of the fact that Carson Beck Carson Beck has played a half a season of college football. So, I mean, there's some guys that are going to the NFL, like Michael Penix Jr., who's played 4 years of college football. So there's going to be inconsistencies in all of the players that we talk about tonight and their 100%. Games. And they're all on the development train. And we're all got our fingers crossed that what we see is base skills right now. They can build on that. So let's get to your number one.
Yeah, my number one is going to be Penn State quarterback Drew Aller. And I think what you just said is the reason why I'm so intrigued by him. I think he already has the solid foundation of a skill set with the size, the arm strength, the mobility. Like he's got all that in place. The thing I want to see a little bit better is more consistency with the accuracy. I rewatched the Ohio State game and he was throwing behind Keandre Lambert Smith. He was overthrowing his receivers, overthrew Tyler Warren. I'm like, I've seen him do better than this. I think it's the consistency of the game and the way he operates within the pocket. I just want to see more of that. But I think there is so much upside with Drew Aller. And if he does get some playmakers around him, which Penn State better do, I think we could see something really special from him. So he just has the look and the part of an NFL quarterback. And there's still so much growth for him. And I think he's got like what 20 touchdowns, like one interception or something like that
Mhm.
this season. Like he's putting on a show regardless of how bad Penn State's offense has looked as a whole. So I'm definitely intrigued by Drew Howard, and he's number one for me.
Yeah, and he's been probably number one for a lot of people, and he's not far down my list either. And I went to that Indiana game I
Yeah,
told you, and I watched him, and he looked very poised in the pocket. And you're right, for that size, him and Carson Beck are the kind of almost the same size, I think. Not
I
100%
think they are.
sure,
Yeah.
but both are showing a little bit of mobility. I think Aller has a little bit more mobility than what I've seen. But in any case,
Mhm.
I like the call. You're going to see Aller is not too far down the list for me. So number two, I've got Shador Sanders. He's getting a lot of buzz right now by a lot of NFL draft nicks that are well reputable in the NFL draft. And I'm not going to say I'm a huge scout, when it comes to quarterbacks, but he's got a really bad offensive line at Colorado. I think he's shown flashes of some really good arm talent. We knew that Colorado was going to come out and play really well, and now they're in the middle of the season and their true colors are coming out. I don't think he goes to the NFL draft. I mean, he's mocked in sometimes in late day two, early day three, in mock drafts that I've seen now. And there's like I said, there's draft guys out there that are really saying little positive things about him. He comes back next year without a doubt. There's no way he's going to the NFL draft because his father already said he wants him to be at the top of that list. And next year, if you look at the quarterback class that we're talking about right now, there's a lot of speculation
Mhm.
and it's wide open. So there's no way
Wide open.
he doesn't cut. He comes back his senior year, plays with his father again. They try and make a better team out of Colorado. And if he's getting draft talk right now for the 2024 class, and he's got another season and a half of development to go, sign me up. He's my number two right now.
Yeah, Sanders, I'm on board. He's on my list. I won't say where yet, but yeah, I can totally see it. And I think if he does go back, like Deion Sanders is good at understanding the weaknesses of his team. I think he's going to do everything he can to
Mhm.
surround his son with what he needs to be successful and develop. And so, yeah, I think he comes back, and I think he does put on a show next year and climbs up within the ranks. How high and how he competes with other guys in this class, we'll find out. And that's going to take me to one of the guys who's going to be in that class next year, and that is going to be Texas A&M quarterback Conor Wigman, who's my number two quarterback. I loved what I saw from him this season before he got hurt. I love the extension out of the pocket. I love the mobility within the pocket. I thought his pocket presence of understanding where the pressure was coming from and stepping up into the pocket instead of retreating backwards, which I see a lot of quarterbacks do, is very mature for such a young quarterback into his second season. And it's unfortunately got hurt because he was on a very good trajectory of his development. I like the arm strength. There were a couple of throws that I saw from him to Noah Thomas in the end zone where he just dropped it right into the hands of Noah Thomas. I mean, in a place where it was almost pinpoint, and I came away really impressed. He throws his receivers open, which we see with Evan Stewart on those drags and those crossing routes. I just like the anticipatory throws he has. There's a lot that Conor Wigman brings at such a young age and young into his career that really I can see translating to the NFL, especially him being 6'3", 215 pounds. It's good enough size. I'll take that. So Conor Wigman for me is definitely number two, and I think he's only going to even get better.
Yeah, I like it. That's a good call. He's popular with a lot of people. So
Yep.
number three for me is Drew Aller. So I think we've already really spoken about him. He just needs, like you
Mhm.
said, he needs some playmakers, man. He needs some some just more time and development. But yeah, I think he's got the raw skills there, and hopefully Franklin can elevate his game and make him a top quarterback in the 2025 draft. So who's your number three?
Yeah. My number three is going to be a guy who hasn't even played yet, but he's sitting behind Caleb Williams, and that's Malachi Nelson. The biggest concern I actually have about Malachi Nelson is his weight. I think he's listed at 190. I'm hoping the Jaden Daniels era of adding weight from your time as a recruit, so the time he's going to be in his third year is going to be about the same. I think Jaden Daniels put on about 30 some odd pounds. I'm hoping Malachi Nelson can do the same. But man, the intangibles from everything that I read about when he was coming out of high school was off the charts. I watched a lot of the huddle film. I love the arm strength. I think he can put the ball on a dime. Now, there were some inconsistencies when I saw Mekhi Lemon not being used with him, and the accuracy was just not there. So a part of me is concerned. Was it the surrounding cast that made him look so good, or was it him? And I've watched enough film to think that Malachi Nelson can definitely be something special, especially with Lincoln Riley and the players he's going to be surrounded with are only going to help him get better.
Mhm.
Zachariah Branch, Mekhi Lemon, and I think they have this guy Jacoby Lane who came in with those guys. I mean, there's some talent there. Deuce Robinson, who was the number one tight end. I think there's going to be a lot available for Malachi Nelson to succeed and succeed early on when he gets a start. And I just see the upside as far as fantasy football goes from a kid like this. So Malachi Nelson's my number three.
I like it. I like it a lot. I mean, he was the number one guy coming into the season for that class. And like you
Yeah.
said, going with Lincoln Riley, he develops quarterbacks, so I like it. But here's where you and I think are going to differ a little bit, because I'm going to be picking some players here for the rest of my top six that I've seen, at least what they've seen on. I've seen them play a little bit, right? I went with my number four guy with Riley Leonard. Now, Riley Leonard, had a season to forget this year. He started off well with 2 games. Then he ran and played against Florida State and Notre Dame. Didn't look that good. Then he's gotten injured. He hasn't played recently. I think it's a season lost. And I remember seeing an interview with him at the beginning of the season. And he was interviewed, and you could tell that he was a little uncomfortable with all the attention that he was getting, that he was a 2024 draft prospect in the beginning of the season. So I'm thinking like maybe the intangibles there, maybe it was a good thing that he kind of faltered a little bit, got hurt, and can kind of
Mhm.
reset. And I'm going to look as for a rebound season next year, with now him being able to kind of, because I'm a big intangibles guy, ready for the challenge, but you could tell he was a little bit nervous. And so instead of going with a guy like Malachi for me, who I've never even seen on the field, I think the NFL is going to love this kid's size. He's like a Will Levis type, a little bit inconsistent and erratic, but he's tough. He's 6'4", 212 pounds. And, on the season this year, he had 352 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. And I think the NFL is loving that dual threat capability, or at least a guy who's mobile. I think he's shown enough flashes for me that I'm going to take a shot with him that next year he rebounds, and he's the guy that a lot of people thought before this year he was going to be a 2024 draft prospect.
Yeah, he's always been a tough one for me because
Mhm.
honestly, the athleticism is so good with him because he can definitely extend plays with the legs that make he's a big time playmaker
Mhm.
outside the pocket. As a thrower, I still have my questions, and I think I just want those questions answered. And I was hoping to get a full season because I don't think it's fair to just judge him off a couple of games. I
I
wanted to
would
get a
agree.
full season out of him, so I hope that he comes back and puts on a show and continues his development because he could be special. But as of right now, the intrigue in fantasy football with his athleticism is
Sure.
there. I just don't know how high he would actually be drafted based on the inaccuracies of his throwing.
Mhm.
All right, so my next guy, wait, let's just close it. There we go. My next guy is going to be Arch Manning, Texas true freshman quarterback who, honestly, the way Malik Murphy's been playing, I'm wondering if we see Arch Manning sooner rather than later. That would be awesome, just for the evaluation process and to see what we have in him. But there were so many questions coming into this season when it came to this draft class with, Malachi Nelson, Jackson Arnold, and Arch Manning and Nico. I can even say his last name. It's like everybody just doesn't want to get on board because he's a Manning. But man, I had to go back again and I rewatched his high school film, and I was going through a lot of what I look for in quarterbacks, and he does it all, and he's got the size to go with it. He's going to be on a trajectory where he's got enough family members who have played football at the highest level around him to coach him up and help him along the way. The arm strength is there. I think he's a dual threat, and he's going to be at Texas where he's going to have a nice surrounding cast once again. And Jonte Cook is there, and I think that's going to be a really nice connection with the deep ball accuracy that I saw from Arch Manning. So I'm really excited for him. And I think at this point where I understand your view as far as going with guys that you've seen, but I think because I've seen some of these guys and I have so many question marks and I'm unsure about them, that I'm going with the untapped potential of the upside with these younger guys. And that's kind of where I am with Arch Manning.
Yeah, and I could see it, and I think this kind of clarifies two different strategies and philosophies. I've been burned on so many like 3-year away quarterbacks that I'm just really hesitant to put my eggs in those baskets, And the Arch Manning thing, I hope he's successful, and he's not in my top 6, and because he's under an enormous amount of pressure, this young man. And you're a Manning, and the expectations, and God bless him if he ends up being a first-round draft pick. All the power to him, because it's going to take a special person to do that with all of the pressure that he has, just with that last name that he has. So you're going to be surprised by my number 5 too. I'm going with Jalen Milroe from Alabama. All right.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
Yeah, you are surprised again. I could I go with Dante Moore here, who just got benched for Garbers, who has really not looked really good. Again, I'm really changing my strategy a little bit. And, listen, we only get 1 or 2 quarterbacks that make it to our dynasty rosters a year, right? I mean, this year we're going to get Stroud, Richardson, and Young, and nobody else. The rest of them are all fill-ins, maybe Will Levis. But, Will Levis, look at all the controversy. My goodness, that he can't throw the ball accurately, but he was tough and he was big and he was, they bought into that athletic profile, hoping that they could coach that kid up. And I really feel like a Jalen Milroe type prospect is, I know sometimes his passes is inaccurate, but again, this is his first year playing college football. And I think our expectation for these young kids to, it looks like I lost you. I lost them. All right, guys, we'll be right back. Are you back?
I don't know what happened.
No, that's okay.
Like the whole app closed on me. That was weird.
Yeah, no worries. I've been sitting here just talking to our podcast listeners on kind of my philosophy again on,
well, that's more important anyway. So
yeah, exactly. But in any case, so we were talking about Jalen Milroe, right? And he needs to improve his accuracy. There is no doubt about it. But again, he's only played a half a season. But again, that he's got that size, he's got that athleticism. The 4 touchdowns he ran, and I know you have to be more than a runner to be an NFL quarterback. I get it, but when you've got those, and that's what everyone's going gaga for over Anthony Richardson. We knew he was inaccurate. We knew he was inconsistent. But they loved him because he was fast and big and strong. And they said, you know what? We think we can coach the kid up if these kids show enough flashes. But they've got that base of athleticism and the base of, the dual threat ability, and they've shown on tape they can hit the deep ball and they can make those throws, but the consistency isn't there. And they've only played a half a season. I don't know. I was just saying to the podcast listeners that JJ McCarthy, his freshman year, he didn't do much, his sophomore year, now it's his junior year. And it's like, he's getting better and better every year as he gets more experience. So that's kind of where I am in my philosophy thinking in Devy rankings right now. I know it's fun to shoot for the stars, but it's tough to take somebody you've never even seen play in college football, because the jump from high school to college is enormous, just like it is from college to the NFL. So, all right. So Jalen Milroe, let's get back on track here. He was my number 5. Who do you got number 5?
Number 5, let me pull that up. Number 5 is gonna be Jackson Arnold, Oklahoma, quarterback, and man, when he had his opportunity this year, I was pretty blown away with just how he took command of the offense, looked like he had no worries at all as far as just understanding and processing the field, made good reads to his quarterbacks, or I'm sorry, his receivers. I like the touch that he put on the ball, had good zip. I think he's going to do really well in this offense, and the dual threat ability of his athleticism is definitely something else that I'm very interested and intrigued by. Oklahoma, we kind of see what Dylan Gabriel's able to do, and I think Jackson Arnold is a much better quarterback than Dylan Gabriel, and the dual threat ability is just something I think is just icing on the cake. So Jackson Arnold to me is a guy that I could see probably this time next year, week 10, week 11, where we're kind of just talking about the guys that we like that, next year. And I think Jackson Arnold could be one of the biggest climbers just due to his skill set and how that offense operates. So Jackson Arnold, I'm definitely interested in.
Okay, cool. So my sixth quarterback here to kind of round out my top six is I'm going with Quinn Ewers. All right, kind of with the same philosophy. There's warts on his game right now. His inconsistency of being able to stay on the field with injuries is, yes, a concern. However, I think he has shown some flashes. He's still getting draft buzz talk right now in 2024 as a top 5, 6, quarterback in this.
That's crazy to me.
Well, that's what's out there. I mean, you're talking about reputable people. You know what I mean? And I get it. I see the weird arm angles and all that stuff. But again, he's going to come back. Maybe he transfers. But I'm just looking at these quarterbacks that are taking 3 or 4 years to really put their name on the map on the NFL. I'm going to take a shot with a guy that's a little closer than a freshman again. So I'm going with Quinn Ewers here, hoping for, again, a rebound and an increase of productivity and just, more time and more experience.
Yeah, there's no doubt that he's uber talented. I think it's just like you said, there's the arm angles, but it's also the throwing motion that drives me absolutely insane. But it works for him. But there's also a lot of overthrows, a lot of underthrows. I was kind of blown away by that. But it's these projections and these grades that we're giving these guys, nothing is set in stone.
Sure.
It's all fluid. So I completely understand your philosophy, and it's probably going to be better than mine. I guess I have seen enough of these guys where I'm just like, let me see what's next, because I'm just not that as intrigued, so totally get it.
Sure.
And Ewers, do you think if he comes back, like, he's got to transfer, right? I mean, he's got Arch Manning in the wing. I got to think Malik Murphy probably tries to transfer as well, but he's not staying at Texas if he comes back. I can't imagine he does that.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe he transfers to a good program. It gives him another opportunity.
So the development could be even different, for the better. So, yeah. My last guys can be Shedeur Sanders. You kind of spoke on him earlier, and I completely agree with you. I think it's just I want to know what is going to happen with him in this offense. I got to think Dad's going to set him up for success and not failure. But I've seen enough from him where I love his game, And honestly, we're talking about the top 6. Like, this could be even like a tier of its own if you really think about the quarterback position and really what every single one of these guys delivers. And I'm looking at our groups, and dual threat is definitely the number one. I think Carson Beck showed that he can do that. Shedeur Sanders may not be a dual threat by nature, but he can definitely extend plays with his legs, which is what is going to be most important, that he understands how to do that. And if he does that strategically, it's even better. Shedeur Sanders is number 6 for me, and he could be a big time climber too. Dad's going to make sure that he is set up.
What's going to blow everyone's mind away is that we don't have Dante Moore on here.
I can't put Dante Moore on here from what I've seen this season. He's got to transfer out. There's no way. But
really, you think he's
from what I've seen, he looked like one of the worst quarterbacks that I watched this year.
I mean, my goodness, he was probably taken in every C2C supplemental draft number 1.
Oh, he was my one, and I can definitely say as of right now, I was totally wrong about that.
Yeah,
I think the skill set's there. It's just something's got to change for him.
Yeah, well, I don't. I think it's way too early to make a judgment call. I think it's
for sure, absolutely.
He definitely, is back on the bench. Garbers is now the starter for at least this upcoming week. But that's how freaking the Devy game is tough, man.
It is
It's
very.
a very, very difficult. All right, so there you guys got it. Those are our top 6 Devy quarterbacks.